Hello and welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. Still not in my usual setup, but I will be back tomorrow. Now, we're going to have a brief look in this one at how I got on in Game Week 6 on screen, and then we're going to look at my plans for Game Week 7 onwards. Now, all my players have played. I don't have any players in the Everton-West Ham game tomorrow, Monday night. So, Raya, 2 points. Didn't expect much from this match. This wasn't a match that I thought was a really good matchup, to be honest, but I knew I wanted Arsenal players going forward. So Raya, Gabriel, Gyökeres. The Newcastle defence has been very, very good this season, and they also haven't been that great going forward. So I maybe expected a clean sheet more than an attacking return from Gyökeres. However, 17 points combined from all of them. Now, granted, that's Raya 2 points, Gyökeres 2 points, Gabriel 13. I am buzzing with that. Gabriel, 13 points. This is why we buy this guy. Not for clean sheets, but for attacking returns and DEFCON. He ended on 17 defensive contributions. Now, this is not what... I mean, that was a joke. This is not what we bought him for at all. We bought him for clean sheets and some attacking threat. We didn't buy him for 17 defensive contributions. However, good to know it's in there. Great to know it's in there for the future. Don't think we'll be seeing it a lot, because I do think that Arsenal will be a lot more dominant against teams and he won't have to make that many defensive contributions. However, like I say, just good to know it's there. Good to know it's there if we need it, especially against the bigger teams as well. So, yeah, Raya, not great. Gyökeres, I don't hate how Gyökeres has been. I think Arsenal, going forward in the first half against Newcastle, were actually pretty strong. We didn't really see that kind of translate into anything tangible, but I am quite happy with how Arsenal attacked, and like I kept saying in my Game Week 6 videos, I think they will just dominate small teams, so I'm happy with him. Senesi, 7 points, just doing what he does. Didn't keep a clean sheet, but defensive contributions, and he actually managed to scrape an assist in there as well, so 7 pointer from him. Mukiele, I went with him over Anderson in the end. I predicted the Sunderland set piece goal perfectly. I said in my team selection video that Sunderland will score from a set piece against Nottingham Forest, and that's why I want to start Mukiele. I just got the centre back wrong. It was Alderete. The reason I didn't go for Alderete is just because he's looked like a bit of a walking yellow card so far. He is rash, which is kind of good for defensive contributions. He'll throw himself into challenges, which means he'll get, a lot of clearances, a lot of interceptions, a lot of tackles, but I just think he's a bit of a walking yellow/red card. However, he did score. So I think it was a 17 pointer as well. He hit DEFCON. Mukiele was 1 point or one defensive contribution off hitting those points annoyingly. But it is what it is. Still a 6 pointer. Still better than Anderson on my bench. Double, in fact. So can't complain there. I can complain with a lot of my midfield though. Reinders, Foden in a 5-goal victory got no attacking returns. Very disappointed in that one, because this was the fixture that was the big one for them. If you told me that Man City were going to score 5 goals in this game, then I would do exactly the same thing. I'd go with Reinders and Foden. I wouldn't go with Gvardiol, because the chances of both of those guys not being involved in a 5-goal victory is quite rare. Foden didn't even have a shot in that game, which is a slight worry. I mean, Reinders came off a little bit earlier than usual. I think it was the 83rd minute. However, I'm keeping both of these guys for the next few weeks anyway. Bruno Fernandes, that is a slightly disappointing one here. He was 1 defensive contribution off hitting the threshold. He obviously got a yellow card and he missed the penalty, or it was saved anyway. Now, what is quite funny is that before I wildcarded, I had Kelleher in my team, so I would have got those penalty save points. I also had Thiago, but we don't need to talk about that. So, Bruno Fernandes, I'm not as worried as most are that he's going to be off penalties now, just because obviously they've got great penalty takers in Cunha and Mbeumo who could take them. However, it's not like they've got a stellar record at United ever, even given that. So Mbeumo and Cunha both missed in the penalty shootout against Grimsby. I think if they'd both scored all of their penalties there, then there'd be a bit more threat. But the one thing we may see is Bruno Fernandes kind of handing out penalties almost like charity. We've seen that before, but I'm not as worried as a lot of people are on Bruno being off pens. I just think he's a great asset. Semenyo just doing what Semenyo does. Scoring from a free kick. It was actually a really good free kick. I think the wall jumped and it looked like he blasted it underneath. Really nice. Gyökeres we've talked about. João Pedro. Chelsea have been really disappointing. I mean, it's hard for him to perform when they keep going down to 10 men. Very difficult for him, but he's fine going forward. And then Haaland doing what Haaland does. My bench is actually really quite satisfying. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Happy that I've got Chris Richards. He's great for DEFCON. Gehi got another attacking return, but I'm still not paying the extra for Gehi over Richards. I still back the Ego Richards. Anyway, enough about Game Week 6. Let's get on to my Game Week 7 team now and what I'm thinking transfer plans wise for the future. Okay, starting off with the goalkeepers, and this is going to be a short one most weeks, to be honest. I mean, before I had Kelleher and I had Dubravka, so there was some chance that I'd play Dubravka over Kelleher. Not really that much of a chance for that going forward because I've got David Raya now. He will play pretty much every single week. West Ham at home is a great fixture. Even though Potter has now been sacked, Nuno's come in, that's still a great fixture. I mean, West Ham the fortunes aren't going to change that quickly. So, fine with Raya in goal. Onto the defence, and as I talked about in my Game Week 6 team selection video, I planned out the rotations between all of these guys. I saw that this was a week where I'll play Gabriel and Senesi. That is most weeks, to be honest. There isn't many weeks where I don't play them. Senesi does play Man City in a few weeks, but that's not for a while. Anyway, Gabriel against West Ham. We know how bad West Ham are at defending set pieces, or have been anyway. Nuno coming in might change that. I don't know if it will change it quick enough, though. Gabriel could feast in that game. Then Senesi with Fulham at home. Good fixture, not great fixture, but just a pretty good one. And again, his floor is like 4 points. He's hit defensive contribution threshold in every single game, so can't complain with it. Richards, Everton away. Again, not an unbelievable fixture, but I still don't subscribe to the fact that Everton are just an unbelievable defence now. Attack, sorry. I mean, Grealish really has improved them, as has Dewsbury Hall, but Palace looked like a fantastic defence. They kept Liverpool pretty quiet, so I'm happy with these three. I've got Anderson on the bench. Anderson does actually find himself on the bench most weeks for me. If you watch my team selection video in Game Week 6, you'll have seen that when I planned out every single week. But he's a very, very good option to have off the bench, given how good he is for DEFCON. And Mukiele, this is just one of the weeks that isn't great for him. Although, what we saw from Man United in Game Week 6, maybe it's not so bad, but I've just got better options here, so I'm going with them. On to the midfield now, and it's looking pretty good this week. So, Reinders and Foden have Brentford away. I still think the Brentford defence isn't very good, especially when it's away from home. Keith Andrews can do a little bit at home, don't get me wrong, we saw that against Man United. I just think away from home there's still a defence that we should be targeting. And Foden and Reinders, yes, the minutes are always going to be a risk, especially given it's a Champions League week. City do play in the Champions League midweek, but I'm still happy to have these guys. For the next few weeks, I'm happy to have them. Foden, Reinders I'll probably just keep because he's great at 5.5 million or whatever he is now. Foden is one that he was always here to be moved to Parma when Parma's fit. If that's Game Week 9, then that's Game Week 9, because that's when Chelsea play Sunderland, I believe. So he was only ever a 3-week thing, and this is one of the weeks where he's great as well. So happy with him. Semenyo, Fulham at home. Semenyo, like I mentioned before, he's kind of fixture proof at this point. I don't really see a world where he's not going to start. We saw against Liverpool in Game Week 1, he can absolutely haul against these top sides. So I have no problem playing him in any fixture. And this, albeit, I don't think Fulham are a bad defence, but they're certainly not an elite one. So happy with that. Stack has Tottenham at home. Stack will find himself on the bench almost every single week, to be honest. Looking at least 5 or 6 game weeks ahead. I don't really need him, but he's very good to have on the bench just in case I do. Then on to the forwards. Gyökeres, this is a really, really nice fixture for him. West Ham, we know they're bad defensively. Yes, Nuno is coming in. I don't think he'll be able to sort West Ham out defensively that quickly. I also just don't think that he'll be able to sort them out enough that this isn't a great fixture for Gyökeres. We still don't know if he's on penalties. Saka did kind of hug the ball, but it looked like he was telling Trossard that Gyökeres is on penalty. I don't know. We're just reading into nothing here. We need to see an actual penalty being taken. But there is obviously a very, very good chance that Gyökeres is on them. João Pedro has Liverpool at home. Not the best fixture, but Liverpool haven't looked that solid defensively so far. Chelsea just need to keep 11 men on the pitch and they might actually have a chance of scoring some goals and winning some games. It's quite frustrating, but everyone owns João Pedro, so it doesn't really matter how he gets on anyway. And then Haaland is currently the captain because I do think that Brentford, even though, like I mentioned earlier, it's Brentford at home. Brentford away from home, so Brentford are the home team. which they are better at home, but I still think this is a very nice fixture. We saw Haaland, he's just getting greedy, just absolutely bagging goals, and the fixture, like I say, is a pretty good one. We will have to see how many minutes he gets midweek, because there are other options in my team. Now, Gyökeres is one of them. I do love that fixture. I loved it more when Potter was in charge, but it's still nice. But also Bruno Fernandes, who's got the vice captaincy here. He is definitely an option for captaincy, I think. People will have been put off because of the -1 last week, but I still think he can deliver. Now, I don't see him playing this attacking role much anymore. He will be playing as in a kind of pivot midfield with Ugarte or Casemiro. That's assuming that Amorim keeps his job till that game anyway. There's a very, very kind of big chance that Amorim does get sacked. They do seem to trust him, but who knows, it might happen. Now, in terms of transfers, I haven't put it on screen here, but I do have one free transfer. So I wildcarded without any free transfers, and that means that I've now got one free transfer. I plan on rolling this week. I don't think I need to make a transfer. I'm sure you will agree, although you might say I need to get rid of Bruno Fernandes, but I'll be keeping him. The next option going forward next week is I'll hopefully be able to roll again. If you watched my video last week, then you'll have seen this team rolls quite nicely for a few weeks. Like I mentioned, I do want to get Foden up to Palmer when Palmer's fit. That does involve downgrading someone to get the extra 2.5-ish. That could be downgrading João Pedro. That could be downgrading a defender. Well, when I say a defender, I mean Gabriel, really. There's not really anyone else I can downgrade. Or it could be downgrading one of the other mids or forwards. But it will probably be Foden and João Pedro, to be honest. João Pedro down to like a Mark Gui at like 4.5. And then Foden up to Palmer. So that is my team. Those are my plans. If you like the video, do hit like, do subscribe. Actually, talking of subscribing, 83% of people, I looked the other day, 83% of you that watch aren't subscribed. It takes 2 seconds, it's completely free, and it helps me so much. So if you do like the video, do hit like, do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.